Hey everybody, what's up? It's Mike Malbro, and I wanted to do a quick video just to kind of talk to you guys about how I managed to manifest my very first house, right? And the cool thing is, I didn't know anything about the law of attraction at the time, right? So, started about 11 years ago. I was newly married, had a child on the way, my first child, Josiah. And what ended up happening is I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. For those of you who haven't read it, it's essentially just, it talks about finance from a real estate investing perspective, right? So in this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, I got to know, okay, well, I want to buy a property. I want to, we rented at the time, and I was like, well, it would be a good idea for me to buy and then rent it out later, because realistically speaking, you want to have your first property, your own house, before you start renting out a property. That's one of the things that they suggest in the book. So anyway, I buy the, at the time, I'm working at a cell phone company selling cell phones, not really making a lot of money, getting minimum wage plus a little bit of a bonus. And during the times whenever I would do bank drops and stuff like that, I would typically pick up the little real estate books. And those real estate books would tell you the houses that were for sale in the area. So as I'm bringing home real estate books, I'm just kind of throwing them on the coffee table. They're getting, kind of thrown away, time and time again. But one day I come home and my wife is looking through one of the magazines, and she's like super excited. And she's like, I think I found our house. And I'm like, really? What? Okay, well, let me see it. So I look at the house. The price is $65,000. Now for me, at the time, that was all the money in the world. You get what I'm saying? Like, I had never seen $65,000 all at one time in one place. And I never even, I never really conceptualized what it would be like to have that kind of money. So for me, it was like, $65,000? You crazy? That's where are we gonna get that kind of money? So anyway, I'm scared. I don't say anything to her. Finally, I'm like, you know what? I can't chicken out. We gotta at least go and see it. And I'm not telling her any of this, by the way. I'm like, okay, this is how I actually approach it to her. I'm like, okay, you go ahead and call them, because I know that my strength is finishing. I can finish anything, but I hesitate to start. At the time, I was like, that made sense to me. So she calls. About 2 hours later, we go see the house. And I was like, it's a small house, right? It was like less than 1,000 square feet, so it's tiny. But we walked in and everything was brand new. And what really caught my attention was the tile in the kitchen floor. The tile is like brand new. Like, so, the tile is beautiful. Everything in there is brand new. Appliances brand new. Only thing it didn't have was a washer and dryer. It had a huge deck in the backyard, at least at the time, how I remember it. Huge deck in the backyard. So I'm like, you know what? I love this house. And the realtor's like, hey, well, this house isn't $65,000 anymore. Now they dropped the price down to $50,000. So I'm like, okay, we got to try. We got to see what we can get. So we go back, we do the paperwork for the property, and in the meantime, right, mind you, it's February the 3rd. February 4th is my birthday. So in the meantime, I'm just like, man, I'm excited, blah, blah. We're going to get our first house. I'm happy about it. And I get to work February the 4th, and I get fired. Pretty much like, I walk in, and they're like, hey, we got to let you go. I'm like, what? So, yeah, I'm devastated. I'm like, man, how are we going to, we just signed for a house yesterday. How am I going to get this house now, right? So I go home, I'm super nervous about telling my wife. I'm super just, I don't know what to do because I just lost my job. And, you know, obviously it's not like a, you know, high up job, but it was what took care of the bills. And I was like, well, if I get a job now, they're going to see that I changed jobs. They're not going to want me to, you know, they're not going to let me get a house. And it's like, okay, I'll change my job. You know what I mean? In the meantime, they kind of want you to have a few months of seasoning in your job. So all of a sudden it dawns on me and I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not going to tell them anything. They're just going to turn me down, or they're not. You know what I mean? And so I decided I'm not going to say anything to the bank. I'm also not going to get a new job. Now here's my thinking, right, at the time, so that you know that I'm not just like hysterically like, oh, he's just taking crazy risks. My thinking at the time, like, my ex-wife is a pastor's kid. And she, you know, while I was with her, I was really getting deeper into the Bible. And some of the stuff in the Bible really kind of, it teaches you a lot of different things. One of the things is super duper, like, have faith, right? Well, that's like a key factor to the Bible is like faith, right? Faith without works is dead. One of the things that immediately rings out in my head right now. So I'm like, you know what? I didn't grow up in church. I didn't really grow up believing in anything, you know, too seriously. Let me go ahead and try this faith thing, right? What's the worst that could happen? We don't get the house. I had a low-paid job. I can get a job at like a grocery store, and that'll help. That'll make ends meet at least. So she comes home. I tell her, she's obviously like, "You're crazy, bro," but she's also pastor's kid, so she can't really say, "Oh, you're acting stupid." She has to kind of let me at least test my faith. So time goes by. We start giving, you know, all the paperwork in to the mortgage company, and the mortgage company ends up kind of telling us like, okay, well, everything looks good, right? So I'm like, we might make it through. And then they're like, but you got to have $2,000 in the bank, right? That we can just see that you have $2,000 in the bank. And I was like, yeah, we only got $2,000. So yeah, anyway, I'm like, man, I don't have this money. I finally just ask and call a whole bunch of people. We get somebody to say, okay, well, I'll give you the money, but you got to give it right back to me after you get the house. So we get the money. I put it in the bank. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use the money. Really, I'm just like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I just really want to buy this house, and I will be indebted to you forever if I spend any of this money, and then I'll pay you back, definitely. But I didn't tell her that because I was nervous that she wouldn't give it to me. Anyway, so I have the $2,000 in the bank. I'm literally staying at home all month long so I don't spend $1. Time goes by, everything's going good. We get to the day before closing, and I call the bank, and I'm like, hey, we close tomorrow. How much money do we need for this check to be so that we can close? And the lady's like, hold on a second, let me go check. And I'm like, heart pounding, heart racing, right? Boop, 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 heart racing. So she comes back on the phone and she's like, oh, I think you're good. You don't need to bring a check. And I was like, dope, right? That's awesome. And then she's like, actually, you're gonna get a check tomorrow. And so I'm like, I get a check? I didn't know that was possible, right? So anyway, I'm super duper like, wow, this is awesome. I get to keep my promise. I don't have to use any of the money. I'm gonna leave with a house and a check. I'm getting paid to sign my name for a house. So anyway, we go to the closing and we get a check for like $480. Now here's the thing that was like amazing to me after I got the check, when I really kind of like sat and thought, like, what really just happened, right? Because like I said, I don't know anything about the law of attraction or manifestation or anything at this time. So I'm like, what actually happened just now? And I look at the check and I realize, like, I didn't have the money for my rent. I didn't have the money for the rent because we didn't let them know a month ahead that we were leaving. So we let them know, and then they're like, okay, well, since it's not a month ahead, we got to kick you out to the second month. So you got to pay next month's rent. And this gave us money for rent, and we actually were able to use some of that money for getting the moving van, right? And getting the utilities on and getting all this other stuff taken care of. So looking back on it now, right, it was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. And the whole thing to me is like, if I had not have just made the decision to act on faith, I don't know where I'd be, right? Well, I know I wouldn't have had that experience. Now here's the problem though, right? I didn't actually know how to do it again. I didn't know anything about how to use the law of attraction. And so anytime I would try to, use the law of attraction without knowing it, I would stumble, and I would know it even after I knew it. I would stumble, I would have trouble with trying to make it work simply because I didn't actually understand it, right? I understood mentally how it worked. I didn't understand, I guess the best way to say it is I didn't understand the practical part of the law of attraction. And up until probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I really kind of sat down and studied and came to the understanding that the law of attraction can be used practically and in a way that there's literally no failure, right? Since then, I've attracted a beautiful woman. She's the love of my life right now. I think that she's great. And we met through kind of like coincidence, right? I also, everything that I've done since then has been intentional. It's been something that I've set a goal, set a target, and said, this is what I want. And I reeled it into myself, right? And so if you're struggling with using the law of attraction, I want you to know that you're not alone and it's not your fault. But you do have to take responsibility for it, right? If you want your life to be better, right? If you want the things in your life that you imagine, right? If you want to be able to think big and pull it into your life, you've got to use a few simple steps. All right, so I found something for you guys, right, who are struggling, that I know it can help you guys to reach your potential. And all you have to do is go to, so there's a link in the description, right? Second link in the description. You can click that. For you guys who are on the phone and you just want to type it on or something like that, it's walletreset.com/manifest, okay? That's going to give you the steps that you need to be able to go from not really knowing what you're doing to just like boom, 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 manifest, right? So hopefully you guys enjoyed this story. I hope it's helped somebody. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to like. If you're seeing this on Facebook, follow my page. Yeah, man, this is my thing, man. I want to help you guys to get the most out of your life, and this is the first step. So I'll see you guys on the next video.